So in my last video of the preview, I mentioned that Sony was going to have more cameras coming out in the next few weeks and months. And today we actually have another announcement about a camera. And it's something we've all been waiting for, the Sony A7S. All right, it's not. But it is the Sony RX Mark VII. So if you're familiar, Sony has their point and shoot line, kind of like how Canon has like their M6, M50, M5, etc. Sony's been doing the RX line for a while. And I actually, years and years ago, almost like probably like 4 years ago at this point, I was actually a Mark III owner, the Sony RX Mark III, because I really wanted something at that time for the size. It was something new, something different. It was a very good price range. I liked the lens that it had on it. But the one thing that threw me off is it didn't have a mic jack, and I needed to progress past that. So I kind of sold that back then, but I had that for a long time. And then after that, I was actually a Mark V owner. Once again, like the lens that was on it, but I felt like it kind of kept up video wise, but it still had some clunkiness, some quirks. And then I moved on to the Canon G7X line, and then, where I'm at today. But I think Sony has a very, very good announcement and a very good camera at this time with this Mark VII. It's a $1,200, basically autofocus beast. Some of the little features and things you get from the A9, pretty much what they're making standard AF-wise with like live view, eye autofocus and stuff like that and how it tracks. There's a lot of little things packed into this mini beast right here. And one big thing that they finally added, I think you get what I'm hinting at, but let's talk about this a little bit more. So looks-wise, it looks the same as pretty much all the other RX line of cameras. There is something I still wish that they added for the most part, but we'll talk about that as we get there. But still a 1-inch, 20 megapixel sensor with DRAM, same tilt touchscreen up top, which actually works very, very well. It's not the one like you see on the A6400 where it pops out and pops over. That was specifically made for that. Some people thought that maybe this would have that to compensate for having like a hot or cold shoe with this, which this does not have. It's just the normal one, flips straight up, down, etc. So that's the one you're getting with that. It's still touchscreen. We're gonna notice a lot of autofocusing increases in speeds and different things in here, and it's very advanced for having a lot of this in a simple point and shoot style camera. But the one thing I want to mention before that is the lens. The lens is a 24-200, 2.8 to 4.5. I'm also going to cover the lens after I cover some of this stuff, just to go here. So you get a lot of bit of range. Once again, you're at a 2.8, you're 24 millimeters, but that does quickly go away as you start to zoom just even a little bit. As it's variable, you get up to that 200, and you have a 4.5. So good range, decent enough, light and opening for that, but you are kind of limited there to an extent. But I do want to talk about it having a mic jack. People, we have a mic jack. Now you can finally mount a mic to your camera, which is great. It only took them 7, iterations to do so. But with that, you can now adapt a mic. The only problem is there's no hot cold shoe for it, so you can't mount it to it. You have to have something external. But I do have an alternative. And this is an adapter I currently use for like my Canon M50. It's this little right hook adapter right here. And what it does is it plugs into the side, and you get another little mic to go into that. And then you kind of have this little bit of adapter right here, and it works, sticks out, and you're good to go. And it solves a lot of issues, and it's helped me make a lot of videos, a lot of vlogging and everything on the go. And you don't have some bulky mic hanging off of it either that you need to mount, but something like this you can. I'll link that down below. I keep mentioning autofocus, but what really has changed? Like I said, it has pulled a lot of elements, some of the elements from the A9 into this small camera right here, but you finally get actual blackout free shooting. Now, what does that mean? Blackout free shooting is when you're taking the photos, your screen doesn't, flicker or go black or anything like that. Now with the Mark VI, it had this to an extent, but there was still a delay. It'd be like you'd be seeing a frame behind, so you'd be moving and it looked like you were delayed. But this is the first time where it's actually real time. No matter FPS that you're shooting or anything like that, you're gonna get that blackout free experience. You're gonna see it, it's gonna be shot, you're good to go right there. Like I teased about at the opening, this is the first time for this line that you're gonna have actual live view, eye autofocus in live view, so you're gonna be able to track and do whatever you need. In live view, you're going to get that capability to select a point. You're going to be able to get it to say, hey, follow this one object where I have this point. And because it has that tracking and everything, that's been improved with their autofocus system recently. and their firmware, you're going to be able to do that in that compact camera. And actually, that's very, very cool. And really kind of wrap out the video portion and a lot of this stuff. It does have 4K video, 24 and 30 frames per second. It doesn't crop, but it seems like a lot of the heating has been resolved. There is no more 5-minute time limit, which a lot of people were annoyed about, but the cameras would get very hot and overheating. You'd have to shut it down. You'd probably boot it up, but then you can only get a couple more minutes and stuff like that. But this has been removed. You could take that option off in your settings. And friend Ted Forbes actually did a test where he ran the camera for an hour, and it only died because the camera died, because the battery died. So it probably could even have went longer. I'll link his hands-on down below as well. And I think that's really awesome for something like Sony, who's been battling the heat thing, but recently, the past couple of years, the heat issue really hasn't been a thing. So I think that's awesome. I think that's great. And to have that capability in this camera that you can even USB charge is pretty cool for $1,200. I'm really kind of wrapping this out. It's really only kind of missing two things. And I think the $1,200 has definitely become something that is more justifiable for the camera recently. Compared to the past couple times, you know, not having a mic input and etc. I just felt it didn't stand up to the times, a lot of the stuff, but Sony's done a very, very good job with autofocusing and keeping this camera, and I think this camera's a little bit of a beast, but I think it's still missing two things. I wish you could probably either, this should have been sold with a 24-70 lens, a 1.8 to a 2.8, instead of the 24-200. I don't think, it's great that you have that zoom, but a lot of people probably don't need the 200 or want the 200, but I know they're going for the sports aspect and the shooting and all, you know, the fast shooting environment. So I get it to an extent, but the 24-70, 1.8 to 2.8, I think is a little bit better for a lot of people, the vloggers and stuff that you're trying to, you know, appeal to in this situation. The other thing is it still doesn't have a hot/cold shoe, so you can't mount directly to the camera. You can use that little adapter that I found that I still highly recommend, but you're still having people use a bracket and adapter, etc. for that. I just think it's a simple little thing you could put on. I know it blocks like the pop-up flash and everything. I personally don't think it even needs a flash, but I know some people will disagree because they want to use it like off camera with, you know, some of their speed lights and everything like that. But besides that, I think that this is finally worth the price. I think it's a beast of a camera. The autofocusing, pretty much everything in there, and that you have a mic jack now makes this a very viable and usable option for a lot of things, even making videos. That's why I like the compact line of things. You know, currently I shoot with the Canon M50 because it does exactly what I need, and I think that this finally steps up into that and more with the 4K and how it handles recording and the no overheating and everything. I think the Sony RX7 is a pretty much of a beast, and I think it's definitely worth a purchase if you're interested in this. But yet again, I wish it was two different cameras or lenses that you could, you know, pick whichever one you wanted. If you wanted 24-70, it's kind of like a back out quick one because it has that lower. But if you wanted the more sporty one, you get the 24-200. I know it's more expensive to do. I just wish it was a thing. Let me know your thoughts on this RX7 down below.